At the time I'm making this video, Donald Trump is in Alaska, with Russian President Vladimir Putin in hopes of trying to create a peace treaty. We already know that he's going to fail, that nothing will be resolved, but he's obsessed with being named the Nobel laureate, winning the Nobel Peace Prize, which he doesn't deserve, for the reasons I'm going to tell you now. One of the main reasons. By now, everyone knows Donald Trump has given the order to federalize D.C. National Guard troops have already marched on the U.S. Capitol in a phony bid to stop crime in D.C. I've been receiving reports that, and saw videos actually on social media, of harassment and stupidity from the federal law enforcement agents that have been activated as well. I'm going to make this clear to you all. I love my country. I love everything about it, the good, and I can acknowledge the bad, which Donald Trump is trying to erase. But the fact is this: I love my country. And now, with everything that's happened, even after Trump has pretty much ended, or on the beginning stages of an ending of civil liberties in this nation, I still love my country. But right now, Donald Trump has created a black eye for my country, sending federal troops into American cities in direct violation of the United States Constitution and the Posse Comitatus Acts. I am not fear-mongering, but I'm hoping nothing happens. I'm praying nothing happens. But with Trump, what gets me is that the last extreme piece of violence that we've had was January 6, 2021. Trump didn't call the National Guard, regardless of how many you Trumpers want to scream it was Nancy Pelosi's job. No, it wasn't. If that's the case, what about Mike Johnson? Did he give the green light to use the National Guard? But beyond all of that, all this was part of the plan of Project 2025. No matter how many times Trump supporters or Trump himself wants to disavow that, it is in the book. Trump is doing this because of some perceived law enforcement initiative. He thinks he's protecting people. No, he's not. If you strip away all of Trump's lies and all the facts, you will see the truth. Trump is putting American citizens' lives in danger. And more to the point, he's putting our soldiers and our law enforcement in direct danger. Now, I am not threatening anyone, but the fact is, when you put people under some sort of military occupation, they will fight back. History is riddled with people fighting back against an oppressive regime. I just didn't think it was going to happen in this country. Apparently, I was wrong. And the sad part is, all of you Trumpers kept making threats that this is exactly what Biden was going to do. No, he wasn't. And now look who did. The man you vote for, the man you defend almost to your dying breaths, Donald Trump. And worse yet, he's threatening to do this in other Democratic cities. Why not any city in Texas or any red state? And oddly enough, all the cities he mentioned have black mayors. This is nothing more. And I hate to say this is a test case of how far he can possibly go before he has to pull the reins pull the leashes, I should say, off the dogs he let loose. So I'm gonna end this video with some messages. The first message is to the American people. I know that you're angry about this. Trust me, I share the anger. If you feel the need to protest, remember, I beg to you, to my soul, to remain peaceful and non-violent. 1. Violence in this situation is not going to solve anything and only feeds the enemy. And by enemy, I'll explain that later. And 2, the country is watching us. We start throwing punches at police officers and soldiers, we will lose the message that we're trying to send. That what Donald Trump is doing is wrong, and we have right now we have the moral high ground. Donald Trump doesn't, and frankly, I don't think he ever will. So remain peaceful. Remain peaceful. My second message is to the soldiers and to the law enforcement. I'm not saying that you are doing this because of vengeance. I'm saying you're doing this because you're trapped in the middle. You're trapped in the middle between the people of this country who have nothing to do with any of this. And you're trapped between us, and you're trapped between Donald Trump and his followers. You're trapped between us. The fact is, remember the oaths you've taken as soldiers to support and defend the United States Constitution. Your oath is to the Constitution, not to Donald Trump. He may be the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, but if he gives you an order that violates your conscience and your oath to our nation, you have the legal and the moral duty to say the 2 words that Donald Trump is so pissed whenever he hears those 2 words. No, sir. To our law enforcement officers who are, just as our military, are trapped in between the people and Donald Trump, remember the oaths that you've taken. And I've said this before, I have worked with some of the best law enforcement professionals ever. And again, I have to remind you all that because of my employer's regulations, I cannot mention where and who and what department I work for. which is a shame because those men and women that I work for and work with, they're the best law enforcement professionals in the country. And they don't get as much credit as they should. Sorry. A lot of you know that I had a stroke. From day one, they were in my corner. Every day they would text, every week they would text me, seeing how I was doing, if it was just a 5-minute, a 2-minute phone call. They've been with me every step of the way. And I honor every one of them for that. And they deserve not only my respect, but your respect as well. It's not their fault all this is happening. As I said with the soldiers, they're caught in the middle of a lunatic fringe led by Donald Trump and the American people in the cities that you work. Your job is to serve and protect the public. Remind yourself of that every time you put on those uniforms, when you put on those badges and those guns. The third group of people I want to give a message to is to the MAGA, the lunatic fringe I told you about. This is what you wanted? You keep screaming about rights and your freedoms, yet you are now cheering a man who is going to destroy both. If you want to celebrate Trump for this, that's on your soul. Ours is clear. We stand for freedom and the Constitution. Everything that you say you believe in, but you just put a flamethrower to. God have mercy on all of you. And I hope those mega red hats don't, you know what, screw it. Forget it about it. You damned your souls to eternity, and you damned this country, all for the sake of lies that your master, your God King Donald Trump, fed you. Which leads me to you, Donald Trump. I got monitor what I say because I know some MAGA out there is watching this video and he's going to try to change things around, especially with AI technology. You swore an oath to this country and this Constitution. You betrayed both. It shouldn't be a surprise to us. You betrayed all your wives. You betrayed your children, although they don't care as long as they get their millions. You betrayed your followers, although they don't care. But I am going to tell you this, and Trump, if this sounds like a threat, so be it. You better pray that nothing happens to our police officers, our soldiers, or our citizens, because I will have your ass arrested for it. I don't care if I have to buy a ticket to Washington, D.C., get hassled by 1,000 soldiers on the way to the White House. I will have you arrested and charged and brought to trial. It may not do any good, and I might end up arrested myself as well. But the fact is, Trump, you brought this whole thing on yourself because you can't handle the fact that half the country may love you, ready to get on their knees for you, and I'm not just talking the praying. I'm also talking about I'm also talking about the half that hates your guts. Trump, you have made this country into a rogue terrorist state. You made this country as dangerous as the Russian president did, whom you like too much for my taste. Dictators dictators have fallen throughout all of history, Trump. Do you want to be next? You didn't have to do this. It was not necessary. And you forced us in a position that, frankly, I don't want to make this video. I don't want to talk about this, but you pushed me into it. You wanted this dictatorship. You're going to see the results of holding people hostage by the gun. It never works for anywhere, much less the United States of America. But you're too stupid and too ignorant to understand that fact. Guess somehow we'll have to teach you. Because your daddy ain't here to save you. I'm sorry, Trump. The lesson is about to be learned in the worst way possible. When you fuck with the Constitution, when you fuck with our freedoms, when you fuck with our lives, don't be surprised when people start fighting back. We have a proud history of resistance that you're trying to erase, Trump. Forgot to mention that. It seems we'll have to teach you a history lesson if things escalate to the point where you want, not us, you. Here in this lesson, the second lesson is coming. CTP, know the truth, God bless. Peace to the left, justice to the right.